This is a critical alert for a specific group of people receiving Social Security benefits. There's a lot of chatter and confusion online about a government rule that could get your monthly checks suspended just for traveling. The story goes that the federal government is getting smarter about tracking international travel, and that even a short vacation could trigger an immediate stop to your benefits. Today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We'll break down the situation completely, talk about the specific rules, who they apply to, and most importantly, what has changed with enforcement that makes this so urgent right now. This isn't about scaring you, it's about giving you the official information you need to protect your benefits. The big clarification, who this rule actually affects. All right, let's get straight to the most important point. This is the part that will either let you breathe a huge sigh of relief or tell you to lean in and listen closely. The rule that can suspend your benefits for international travel applies almost exclusively to people who receive Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. Let me be crystal clear. If you're a U.S. citizen and you receive standard Social Security retirement benefits based on your work history, this travel rule does not apply to you. You can travel abroad for a few weeks, a few months, or even longer without your retirement checks being suspended. The same is true if you're a U.S. citizen on Social Security Disability Insurance or SSDI. These are earned benefits, and the travel rules for them are fundamentally different. So if you're one of the tens of millions of U.S. citizens on standard retirement or disability, this specific suspension rule isn't your primary concern. I still think you'll find this interesting, because understanding how these programs differ is important. And there are other rules for non-citizens or those living abroad permanently. But for today's alert, our focus is squarely on Supplemental Security Income, SSI. If you get an SSI check, this is for you. You are directly impacted by these rules and the changes in how they're enforced. So why is SSI treated so differently? It all comes down to what the program is. Social Security Retirement and SSDI are insurance programs. You paid into them through payroll taxes, and now you're collecting on a policy you own. SSI, on the other hand, is a federal assistance program. It's funded by general U.S. Treasury funds, not the Social Security Trust funds. It's designed to provide a financial safety net for aged, blind, and disabled people with very limited income and resources. Because it's a needs-based program intended to cover basic living costs inside the United States, it has a strict residency requirement. The whole idea behind SSI is that you have to reside in the U.S. to be eligible. This is why leaving the country, even for what seems like a short time, can make you ineligible. To put it simply, retirement and SSDI are based on what you paid in. SSI is based on your current need and location. And according to the Social Security Administration, SSA, if you are outside the U.S., you don't meet the residency requirement for this program. This one distinction is why this alert is so critical for SSI recipients and a non-issue for most others. Now that we've cleared that up, let's get into the specific rules every SSI recipient must understand. The core rules explained: 2 ways to lose your benefits. For anyone on SSI, there are 2 hard and fast rules you need to burn into your memory. Getting either of them wrong can cause your benefits to be suspended. The first and most misunderstood is the full calendar month rule. This rule states that if you are outside of the United States for an entire calendar month, from the first day to the last, you are not eligible for an SSI payment for that month. For example, if you leave on January 31st and return on March 1st, you were gone for the entire calendar month of February. Even though February has only 28 or 29 days, this rule would make you ineligible for your February SSI payment. The second is the 30-day rule. The policy says that if you are outside of the United States for 30 consecutive days or more, your eligibility for SSI is suspended. The moment that 30th full day passes, your eligibility stops. Let's be precise because the details matter. First, what does outside the United States mean? You might be surprised. For SSI, the United States is defined as the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the Northern Mariana Islands. This means that travel to U.S. territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and American Samoa is considered being outside the United States. This is a huge trap. You might think you're still in the US when you fly to San Juan, but for the SSI program, you've left the country and the clock starts ticking. Second, how is 30 consecutive days counted? The SSA is literal. The clock starts the day after you leave the US. To avoid suspension, you have to be physically back in the United States before that 30th full day is over. It's important to know this is a suspension, not a permanent termination, but getting your benefits turned back on isn't automatic. To get your SSI benefits reinstated after a suspension for travel, you have to prove you're a resident again. This means you must return to and remain physically present in the United States for 30 consecutive days. Your eligibility can't be restored on the day you land. Let's use an example. You left on March 5th and came back on May 10th. Your benefits were suspended. When you return on May 10th, a new 30-day clock starts. You have to stay in the US from May 10th through June 8th. Only after that can the SSA reinstate your benefits, with payments typically resuming the following month. So, in this scenario, your eligibility is reinstated on June 9th, and your first payment would likely arrive in July. You would lose your SSI checks for April, May, and June. That's a 3-month income loss from a 2-month trip, a devastating blow for anyone relying on SSI. The change, how enforcement is evolving. So you might be thinking, this rule has been around forever. Why the urgent alert now? The answer isn't a new law. The big change is all about enforcement. The game has changed. For decades, the Social Security Administration mostly relied on self-reporting. SSI recipients were supposed to call the SSA and tell them they were leaving. As you can imagine, this honor system didn't work perfectly. People were often unaware of the rule, forgot to report, or chose not to. The SSA's own Inspector General has pointed out that this led to hundreds of millions in improper payments. The recommendation was clear. Stop waiting for people to call and start using government travel data to see who is leaving the country. And that is exactly what's happening. The SSA is getting much better and faster at using data it shares with the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to track international travel. A massive database managed by Customs and Border Protection, CBP, electronically records when every person enters and exits the U.S., whether by air, land, or sea. When you fly, the airline sends your info to DHS. When you drive across the border and your passport is scanned, that gets recorded too. Through expanded data sharing agreements, the SSA's systems can now automatically cross-reference this travel data. Instead of waiting for you to call them, their computers can automatically flag your Social Security number when DHS records show you've been outside the country long enough to be ineligible. When that flag goes up, an automatic suspension can be triggered. The old honor system is being replaced by an automated one. The critical warning is this: the days of hoping no one notices are over. Automated enforcement is the new reality. Your travel is no longer just a private matter. It's an electronic data point the government is actively monitoring. A trip that might have gone unnoticed a few years ago could now get your benefits suspended immediately. The risk is no longer theoretical, it's automated, and it's real. Actionable steps and solutions for SSI recipients. Knowing the rules is one thing. Knowing how to protect yourself is everything. This isn't about giving up travel, it's about traveling smart. Here are the clear steps every SSI recipient should take. Step 1. Become an expert on the calendar. Your top priority is to avoid accidentally breaking the rules. Count your days. When planning a trip, count the full consecutive days you'll be outside the US. The safest plan is to aim for 28 days or less to give yourself a buffer for travel delays. Avoid the territory trap. Remember, for SSI purposes, a trip to Puerto Rico or Guam is the same as a trip to Paris. The 30-day clock applies. Watch the calendar month. Be extra careful with trips in short months like February. Leaving January 31st and returning March 1st will trigger a suspension for February, even though it's less than 30 days. Step 2. Report your travel. Proactive communication is your best defense. In this new era of automated checks, reporting your travel is more important than ever. Being proactive with the SSA is your best shield against a bureaucratic nightmare. Notify the SSA before you leave. You are required to report changes that can affect your benefits, including leaving the country. You should contact the SSA before your departure. How to contact them? Call the SSA's toll-free number or your local field office. Tell the representative you're an SSI recipient and need to report your international travel dates. What to tell them? Be ready with your name, social security number, the exact date you're leaving, and the exact date you plan to return. Ask the representative to note this in your file, and you should jot down the date, time, and name of the person you spoke with for your own records. Reporting a trip that's under the limit creates a protective file. If the automated data somehow flags you by mistake, your report shows you were acting in good faith and can help clear up a misunderstanding quickly. Step 3. Understand the reinstatement process. Even with perfect planning, things can happen. A family emergency could keep you abroad longer than expected. If your benefits are suspended, you need to know how to get them back. Contact the SSA immediately upon return. The moment you're back in the US, call the SSA. Tell them you've returned and want your benefits reinstated. Prepare for the 30-day wait. Your payments won't restart the next day. You must be physically present in the US for another 30 consecutive days to reestablish your residency. There's no shortcut. Follow up. After you've been back for 30 days, call the SSA again to confirm they've processed your reinstatement. Payments will generally resume the month after this 30-day waiting period is finished. Step 4. Know the rare exceptions. The Social Security Administration, SSA, generally stops SSI payments when a recipient is outside the United States, but it does recognize a few very narrow and strictly enforced exceptions. One exception applies to students who must study abroad because their specific educational program is not offered anywhere in the U.S. In this situation, SSI may continue for up to 1 year only, and the student must receive prior written authorization from the SSA, along with submitting proof of enrollment, program necessity, and travel dates before leaving the country. Another exception applies to disabled children of U.S. military personnel who are officially stationed overseas, allowing SSI payments to continue while the child lives abroad with the service member parent under military orders. These exceptions are not automatic, are reviewed on a case-by-case basis, and require ongoing compliance with SSA reporting rules, meaning recipients must stay in direct contact with the SSA, provide requested documentation promptly, and understand that failing to obtain advance approval can result in immediate suspension of benefits and potential overpayment penalties. Social Security is not just a monthly check. It is a critical source of income for millions of retirees, disabled individuals, and families. Yet the system is filled with complex rules, changing payment schedules, eligibility requirements, and frequent policy updates that can be difficult to follow on your own. Even small changes or missed announcements can affect when your payment arrives or how much you receive. If this video helped you better understand what's happening and gave you peace of mind about your benefits, subscribing to this channel ensures you stay ahead of those changes. Our goal is to monitor official updates, break them down into simple, easy-to-understand explanations, and alert you quickly when something important happens so you can make informed decisions without stress or confusion. By subscribing, you'll never miss a critical update that could impact your income, allowing you to stay informed, protected, and financially secure. To quickly summarize the most critical points, it's important to understand that the biggest shift here is not the introduction of a new law, but a major change in how existing rules are being actively enforced. The Social Security Administration is now using automated data sharing systems with the Department of Homeland Security, which allows travel and residency information to be cross-checked in real time. In the past, enforcement relied heavily on self-reporting, meaning some cases went unnoticed. That is no longer the case. With these systems in place, the chances of travel outside the United States going undetected are extremely low, and any violation of residency rules is far more likely to trigger an immediate review or suspension. This alert specifically applies to supplemental security income, SSI recipients, not standard Social Security retirement or SSDI beneficiaries who are U.S. citizens. SSI is a needs-based program with very strict U.S. residency requirements, and the travel rules leave little room for error. There are two key rules to remember: the 30-day consecutive rule and the full calendar month rule. If an SSI recipient remains outside the United States, including certain U.S. territories such as Puerto Rico, and violates either of these rules, their benefits can be suspended. That's why the most important step you can take is to be proactive. Fully understand the rules, plan any travel carefully, and report all travel dates to the SSA before leaving the country. Taking this single precaution can make the difference between uninterrupted benefits and an unexpected suspension. The goal here was to replace fear with facts. Your financial security is too important to leave to chance or online rumors. Understand the rules, follow the steps, and you can travel with peace of mind, knowing your benefits are secure. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It does not provide legal, financial, or immigration advice. Social Security and SSI rules, enforcement practices, and payment eligibility are subject to change and may vary based on individual circumstances. This channel is not affiliated with the Social Security Administration, SSA, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, or any government agency. Always verify your specific situation directly with the SSA or through official government sources before making travel or financial decisions.